Okay, so you want to own a dumpster rental business. Buy a big metal box, drop it in someone's driveway, pick it up when it's full, and charge them for the privilege. The box doesn't move. It doesn't eat. It doesn't call in sick. You drop it off. You drive away, and it just sits there earning money while somebody else fills it with their own garbage. People will always renovate kitchens, tear off roofs, clean out garages, and build things. And every single one of them needs somewhere to throw the debris. It sounds like the most boring, bulletproof business on earth. Rent out a steel box and collect rent on trash. Sounds simple. It is not simple, because the dumpster rental business hides a brutal little secret. The box is cheap, but everything that touches the box is expensive. The truck that carries it costs more than a house. The dump that empties it charges you by the ton. And the difference between an operator who nets 25% and one who quietly loses money on every pull comes down to numbers most people never even think to ask about. The box isn't the business. What you do with the box is the business. So let's open the books. Before you make a single dollar, you have to survive getting in. And in this business, the box is the cheapest part of the whole thing. A single roll-off dumpster, the open-top container you picture, costs between $3,000 and $9,000 depending on size. A small 10-yard runs cheaper. A 40-yard construction container runs to the top of that range. That sounds manageable. A starter fleet of 5 or 10 containers might run you $25,000 to $50,000. Still not crazy. Here's where it stops being cheap. The truck. You cannot run this business without a roll-off truck, a specialized rig with a hydraulic hook lift or cable system that loads and unloads those containers by itself. A good used roll-off truck runs around $50,000 to $95,000. A new one runs $100,000 to $200,000. One truck. That single purchase is usually bigger than your entire container fleet combined. The box is cheap. The thing that moves the box is where your money goes. And most operators finance it, which means the day the loan arrives is the day the payment starts, not the day you land your first customer. Add commercial insurance, a waste hauler permit, a business license, and in many states, a commercial driver's license to legally operate the truck at all. Depending on the size of the truck, you may need a CDL just to get behind the wheel. So before one container hits one driveway, you've committed 6 figures of equipment, a monthly truck payment, and a stack of permits. You inherit the overhead before you inherit a single customer. That's the cost to exist. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because the way a dumpster business actually makes money is layered in a way that catches almost every new operator by surprise. At the surface, the model looks childishly simple. You rent a container for a flat fee. The average dumpster rents for around $500 a week. Rent that single box out 30 weeks a year, and it generates roughly $15,000 to $20,000 annually from one container. Multiply that across a fleet, and the top-line revenue looks fantastic. That's the number that gets people into this business. But that top-line number is a trap because it hides 3 costs that quietly eat it alive. The first is the tipping fee. When you haul a full dumpster to the landfill or transfer station, they don't take that trash for free. They charge you by the ton, anywhere from $20 to $80 per ton. And it varies wildly depending on what's in the box. Clean concrete is cheap to dump. Mixed construction debris is expensive. Household junk is somewhere in between. Every single pull you pay to get rid of what your customer threw away. And here's the part that catches people. If a customer overloads the container past its weight limit, and they always try to, you eat the overage. Industry standard overweight fees run $80 to $100 per ton above the limit. And if you didn't write that into the rental agreement, that cost comes straight out of your margin. Read that again, because it's the whole game. Your customer controls how heavy the box is, and the weight is what the landfill charges you for. If you price a flat rate and the customer fills that box with wet drywall and old tile, a job that looked profitable on paper can lose you money at the dump gate. The operators who survive are the ones who price the weight in before the box ever left the yard. The second hidden cost is the pull itself, the drive. Every delivery and every pickup burns fuel and driver time. A roll-off truck is heavy and thirsty, and a dead mile driven to a job on the far edge of your territory pays you nothing while burning exactly the same diesel as a loaded one. Transportation, fuel, maintenance, and driver wages typically eats 25 to 35% of your total operating costs. A driver with a commercial license runs around $48,000 a year, or $22 to $28 an hour. The tighter your routes, the more pulls each truck does per day, and the more money you make on the exact same fixed costs. Density isn't a nice to have in this business. It's the difference between profit and loss. The third hidden cost is the most counterintuitive one, and it's where most of the real money quietly hides or quietly dies. Utilization. A dumpster sitting empty in your yard is not neutral. It is a dead asset, capital you paid $3,000 to $9,000 for, earning absolutely nothing while it sits. The whole business runs on keeping your containers out in the field, on jobs, generating rent. Successful operators target a utilization rate of 70 to 80%, meaning most of their boxes are out earning at any given moment. Drop below that, and you've got expensive steel sunbathing in a lot while your truck payment and insurance keep running. Being fully stocked in the yard isn't a sign of health. It's a sign your money is asleep. Now here's the part almost nobody thinks about when they picture this business: the way the smart operators turn one boring box into several revenue streams. Because the dumpster is really just the front door. Once you have the truck, the yard, and the customer relationships, you can layer on services that use the same assets you already own. Junk removal, where instead of just dropping a box, you send a crew to actually haul the stuff out, commands a premium because the customer is paying for labor, not just steel. Equipment rental. Operators have found that renting out a mini excavator or a skid steer alongside the dumpster turns a 4-load job into a 2-load job, saving trips while adding a second rental fee. Some operators even rent out the idle space in their own storage yard for RVs, for boats, for anything that needs a fenced lot, turning dead ground into passive income. This is the quiet truth of the business. The dumpster gets you the customer, and the truck gets you the capability, but the margin lives in what you stack on top. The operator who only rents boxes is running the thinnest version of this business. The one who rents boxes, hauls junk, rents equipment, and monetizes the yard is running 4 businesses off one truck. Now, here's the other side of the ledger, because for every one of those streams, there's a cost structure underneath that decides whether you actually keep any of it. The cruelest fact of this business is the same one that haunts every heavy equipment operation. The fixed costs run whether the boxes are out or not. The truck payment is due in a slow month. The insurance runs on a week with 0 deliveries. The yard rent is owed whether your containers are earning or sunbathing. And the industry's average profit margin tells the whole story, around 12% across the board. Well-run operations push that to 18, even 25%. But that gap between 12 and 25 isn't luck. It's routing, it's weight management, it's utilization, and it's the add-on services. The same fleet in two different operators' hands produces two completely different businesses, and there's a trap almost nobody sees coming. Overweight loads and tipping fees can quietly cross 40% of your revenue on a bad load mix. When your disposal costs climb past that line, you're not running a rental business anymore. You're running a very expensive garbage hauling charity. The operators who fail are usually not the ones who couldn't find customers. They're the ones who found plenty of customers and priced every single job just slightly wrong, losing a little on each pull until the little losses became the whole business. To understand how this plays out, it helps to watch the two versions of this business happen to the same kind of operator, because both are everywhere, and the line between them is thin. Picture the operator who does it right. He starts with one used roll-off truck and 5 containers. He drives the truck himself in the beginning to save the driver's wage. He writes weight limits into every rental agreement, so overloads become the customer's cost, not his. He clusters his jobs. He won't drive to the far side of the county for one pull. He waits until he has 3 in the same area. He watches his utilization like a hawk, and when a box has been sitting in the yard too long, he drops his weekly rate to get it back out earning. Within a couple of years, he's added junk removal service for the customers who don't want to load it themselves, bought a second truck, and started renting the empty half of his yard to a guy with 3 RVs and nowhere to park them. He built an asset. Now picture the other operator. Same truck, same 5 boxes. He quotes flat rates because it's simpler, and eats every overweight load at the dump. He takes every job that calls, no matter how far, so half his pulls are dead miles across the whole county. He never tracks utilization, so on any given week, half his expensive steel is sitting idle in the yard doing nothing. He never adds a single service. He just rents boxes. When diesel spikes over a summer, he has no way to pass it through. When one truck repair hits $4,000 unplanned, it comes straight out of cash he doesn't have. He is busy. He is renting boxes constantly, and he is losing a little money on almost every one of them. Same industry, same truck, same boxes, opposite ending. The difference was never the equipment. It was the weight clause, the routing, the utilization, and the services stacked on top. And this business is changing under everyone's feet. The dumpster rental market in the U.S. runs into the billions and keeps growing, pushed by construction and the endless national appetite for home renovation, which means the same thing that hit every other unglamorous local service is coming here too: consolidation. Private equity and regional roll-up companies have noticed that a boring dumpster operation with tight roots and a loyal contractor base throws off steady, recession-resistant cash flow. The single truck owner-operator is increasingly competing against consolidated fleets with routing software, negotiated dump rates, and the scale to underprice a newcomer on volume. But the demand isn't going anywhere. People will always tear down, build up, and throw out. The operators who win the next decade are the ones who understand this was never a business about steel boxes. It's a logistics and disposal business wearing a dumpster as a costume. So, does owning a dumpster rental business actually work? The honest answer is that the gap between the good version and the bad version is enormous. And it's the same truck and the same boxes in both. In the good year, your containers run at 75% utilization, out in the field earning instead of sitting in the yard. Every rental agreement prices the weight in, so overloads are the customer's problem, not yours. Your routes are tight, your truck is paid down, and you've stacked junk removal and equipment rental on top of the base rental income. Each box is throwing off $15,000 to $20,000 a year, and the add-ons push your margin toward the top of the range. That's the operator who turns a fleet of steel boxes into a genuine local cash machine. The kind of quiet, unglamorous business that makes millionaires nobody ever notices. In the bad year, your utilization sags and half your capital sits idle in the yard. A run of overweight loads on flat-rate jobs pushes your dumping costs past 40% of revenue. Diesel spikes, and your dead miles bleed you dry. One truck breakdown takes your only rig off the road, and the fixed costs keep running while the revenue stops. Same boxes, same truck. A completely different business, because the money in dumpsters was never in the box. It was in everything you did with it. Here's the thing to understand before you ever buy the truck. The people who get rich in this business aren't the ones who love dumpsters. They're the ones who understood before they spent a dollar that the box was never the asset. The roots are the asset. The utilization is the asset. The weight clause is the asset. The services stacked on top are the asset. The box is just the thing that opens the door to all of it. The box gets you the customer. What you do with the box gets you the money. And the operator who knows the difference is the only one still in business when the truck across town gets parked for the last time.